Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now open for questions. All right, now since I would not know all of you, I would expect you to please raise the placard or your hand, and once I indicate, I expect you to please give out your name and the media group that you belong to. Keep your questions short so that we can take as many questions as possible. Also, ladies and gentlemen, kindly bear in mind that confidential aspects may not be answered by the 3 DGMOs. Right. I've got a lot of hands there. Let me start from the left. Left foot always in front when we start marching. So here we have to the left, okay. Yeah, 238.
Hello. So this is Manas Pratimhuyan from PTI, Press Trust of India. So the understanding that was reached yesterday on stopping the military operations and actions, was it for just 3 days? And what would be the cost escalation if there is violation of this understanding by the Pakistani side? And my subsequent question would be that we have a kind of ceasefire agreement with Pakistan that was finalized in 2003. So will there be some kind of similarities in frameworks between the two kind of understandings, 2003 ceasefire agreement and the current understanding on stopping military operations? And again, what would the cost that will be incurring on Pakistan if Pakistan again resorts to this kind of terrorist activities, because we have made it very clear that the cost will be very high. So I would like to have your thoughts on it.
Okay, so I'll answer the latter part of the question first. I also want to add that while the initial ceasefire agreement, as you correctly pointed out, is of the 2003 vintage, but I must remind you that in 2021, in the month of February, and this was then when the crisis in eastern Ladakh was also on, the 2 DGMOs had spoken and arrived at a ceasefire understanding that lasted right up until this unfortunate attack at Pahalgam. Once our Foreign Secretary had announced the decisions of the CCS in the immediate wake of that attack, he had announced certain measures, and then of course Pakistan had in turn made its own announcements. Since then, there have been certain violations of this ceasefire understanding, and of course after the 7th of May, like I pointed out during my statement, that there have been numerous violations on the line of control especially, and of course along the international boundary by the Pakistan Army and the Pakistan Air Force. This understanding that we spoke about yesterday, no, it was not for 3 days. It was first to stop aggressive and hostile activities immediately, let that order and direction settle down for about 36 hours, and thereafter discuss modalities, like I said, to ensure its longevity. That is tomorrow, on the 12th of May. But unfortunately, we had a violation starting at approximately 1900 hours last night. And we've sent a communique, like I said, to the Pakistan Military Operations Directorate. And we will await as to what happens tonight.
All right.
The cost escalation, I'll leave it to your best imagination. I've already said that the response will be fierce and punitive.
Now, the right foot forward. Yeah. 163.
Sir, I am Ajit Dubey from ANI, sir. Sir, my question is that you talked about the loss of lives to the Pakistan army, that was around 35 to 40 kills secured by the Indian army. Sir, can you tell us what would be the total loss of life to the Pakistan army in both army and air force attacks, sir? And how good was the performance of the BrahMos, Scalp and the S-400 during the operations? And sir, since we have... Sir, just one line.
No multiple questions, please.
Sir,
all right.
And since, sir, we have achieved such a spectacular, we have made good achievements in this entire operation, can we say that we have emerged victorious, or we have a big upper hand over the Pakistanis in this entire conflict? Thank you very much, sir.
So I'll answer the question about the loss of lives on the other side. Of course, there are various means to ascertain that number. There is information from various agencies that come in. There are, of course, on the line of control, other ways to find out as to what has been the effect of what you are doing there in ceasefire violations. So therefore, I mentioned 35 to 40 on the line of control, and please remember that once Operation Sindoor was launched, the responses of the Pakistan Army were also on Indian Army or the Indian Armed Forces infrastructure. Let me put it that way. So that's why I did not cover casualties of the Pakistan Army, at least in the initial phases of battle, because those were not our targets. Our targets were terror-oriented, and of course later, once they launched air intrusions and air operations on our infrastructure, we've used heavier weapons, and of course there would have been casualties, but those are still being assessed. The effects of the weapons that you mentioned, I will request Air Marshal Bharti to apprise all of you about those.
Good evening, Mr. Sujit. How are you? Ajit. Okay, we're meeting after some time. I never mentioned about any of the weapons that we used. Check. Okay. What I was saying, that I never mentioned of any of the weapons, the caliber that we used. All right, so we'll leave it at that. Those are matters of operational details which I would not like to go into. But suffice to say that whatever methods and whatever means we have chosen, it had the desired effects on the enemy targets. How many casualties? How many injuries? Well, to start with, our aim was not to inflict casualties, but in case there have been, it is for them to count. Our job is to hit the target, not to count the body bags.
And the last part of your question, I wonder if you read out the tweet on ADG PI at midnight once we'd done what we had to in Operation Sindoor. And that's credit to my friend here on the left. Justice has been served, Ajit. That is all that I will say.
Ajit, I'll request you to, refrain putting words into his mouth. All right. Yeah, I'll come back to the left. 147. Sorry, 47. No, 47. Did I see it here or? Yeah.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Sorry, 147, I saw it there. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Since I've already said, 147, start please.
Hi sir, good evening. This is Shivam Patel from Reuters News Agency. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. My question, sir, is how many military targets did Indian Armed Forces strike in Pakistan in response to the attacks from Pakistan? How were these targets selected? And how many troop casualties have been there in total on both sides, if you can give details? Thank you.
I'm sorry, where are you? I haven't spotted his...
He's to the right.
Okay. Can you just repeat that for me, please?
Sure, sir. So my name is Shivam Patel. I'm from Reuters News Agency. My question is, how many military targets in total did the Indian Armed Forces strike in Pakistan in response to the attack from Pakistan? How were these targets selected? And how many troop casualties have been there on both sides, if you can?
So you're speaking of the targets that I mentioned in the wake of the attack at Pahalgam, right? Yeah, I think it's amply clear to everybody here that the Pakistan army has not crossed the international boundary, neither in the plain sector nor on the line of control. So the intrusions have been in the air. There have been certain attempts on the line of control when ceasefire violations have been on to try and infiltrate and carry out and perpetrate activities that we are all very well familiar with. Whether these are by terrorists or by the Pakistan army or its special forces and commandos is difficult to say, but each of these have been effectively thwarted. So therefore, as far as engagements of military targets on the other side is concerned, I thought Air Marshal Bharti covered those very well and in detail, and he also mentioned as to how they went about targeting those. I think those images were very clear and very, very graphic in telling us as to what we needed to hit. And you'll remember right at the outset I said that we even went into what was the construction in each of these locations and therefore decided on the vector that had to be utilized.
May I?
Please.
Okay, if I could add to what the DGMO has said, I have already detailed the targets. Now, whether it is X numbers or Y numbers is that is immaterial. And what damage have we inflicted? You have seen. What are the casualties on the other side? As I said, that is for them to count. As far as we are concerned, from the air defense side, if they had a choice, they would have definitely come in. They are fighters, there are more numbers of UCAVs. It is not that they did not intend to come in. It is only that our robust AD posture prevented them from coming in. So that must be known, and that must be realized by all the audience here.
Yeah, I'll come to the left now, 24.
Good evening, sir. This is Anvesh Rath from Z. Sir, I wanted to know on the first briefing, which was done by FS and two representatives from Air Force and Army, you showed a list where there was 21 places in that list. You have stuck 9. Are more operations going to be held? Is Operation Sindoor still on? And the second question, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
And also, I want to congratulate all three of you for a fantastic operation that you guys have done.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that one question. Yeah. Sir, the question.
Unfortunately, Rath, is that your name? I'm